All right. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon and good evening to people in different countries. My name is Sahil, and welcome to another episode. And welcome to another episode on Immigration Radio, guys. I'm more than happy to meet you today. And on this episode today, we have some exciting news and exciting coverage in the special report segment as well. First of all, quickly going through the agenda of the day today. We will be discussing a couple of important updates with regards to Canadian immigration because we live in Canada. I am a licensed practitioner, licensed immigration consultant, and I practice here in Ontario. So we will be talking mainly about Canadian immigration updates. Um, we have special updates pouring in from British Columbia, a couple of them from Manitoba as well. New work permits announced, so that is one good news. Apart from that, we will have important updates in regards to relations between US and Canada as well. So, latest news coverages on that topic. We have in the world immigration segment, we will be talking about Singapore today. Important updates coming in from Singapore. Looks like the work permits for Singapore have become pretty easy. So a couple of updates there, but yes, the star of the show today will be our coverage on the Liberals Party. Well, you already know that this is the electoral week or the month that is going on, and we did get a good glimpse of the debate yesterday between the leaders of each party. And seems like we have enough juice to cover up on what would happen if the Liberals were to come into the president and the prime minister and the leadership once again. What are they thinking on? What changes could be expected? What is their style of leadership? We will be covering that in detail in the special segment today, which will be towards the end. Not only that, we will have a couple of question and answer rounds here and there throughout the video, mostly towards the end as well and somewhere in the middle. So do stick around, do keep on pouring in your questions, and we would be more than happy to answer those during the course of the video today. Um, so, guys, quickly coming over to the topic of the day, which is our updates on Canadian immigration specifically. So, guys, on Canadian immigration, there are a couple of updates that are happening. More importantly, about yesterday or day before yesterday, Manitoba announced that starting April the 22nd of 2025, they will be issuing support letters for work permits. These will be effective. The activity will be effective April 22nd of 2025. There is a host of eligibility factors that Manitoba has announced, and if you are willing to apply under it, you will have to take a closer look at whether you are eligible for the new work permit support letter that will be issued by Manitoba. Now, taking you over to the Manitoba website very specifically, the announcement. This is April 15th, 2025. This particular news release is this particular announcement is following the news release that was there on April 15th. They're saying if you want to apply for the support letter with regards to Manitoba PNP, there are a couple of things that you need to meet in terms of the criteria. Now, first of all, looking at the criteria here, you should hold a valid work permit that will expire in 2025. That is the first. Or you should have held a valid work permit on May 7, 2024 that has since expired and you've submitted another application. This is key. People generally forget that if you are applying for a work permit support letter, because people have had expired work permits in the past, they generally get confused on the requirements, and then if you remember, in the month of August 2024, a couple of provinces, including Manitoba, then there was Yukon as well. The provinces had announced this work permit support letter, and this is a renewal of that particular support. The work permit support. People who are there in the pool as well, reach out to Manitoba, and the whole process is there at the bottom as well. If you look at this, how to apply for the consideration under the public policy. First, let's look at what the policy is. So the second point says has expired since, and you have applied for a new work permit. This is one. It says if you had a work permit on May 7th that has since expired and submitted an application for extension and remain as a temporary resident, even this is possible. And again, May 7th, if you have submitted an application for temporary resident status, that has expired or submitted an application as well. So all of these so these are or, okay. So you have to follow them accordingly. And then a couple of other host of requirements as well. If you are falling into that category and if you're able to maintain that requirement, then you can apply for this Manitoba regarding Manitoba support letter. They will be issuing a 2-year work permit support letter for you. And then in the meantime, you can stay in Manitoba, work in Manitoba, and then hope to be picked up in a draw in the time to come. People who've been residing in Manitoba prior to January 2025 and have continuously remained in Manitoba, that is one of the other key requirements here. They should have a valid Manitoba uh, provincial nominee program expression of interest on January 15th and have held that application ever since. And they intend to establish themselves as permanent residents in Manitoba. So, all of this is an important part of the application. So, if you are eligible under this particular policy, I would highly recommend that go ahead and apply, because if you look at Manitoba PNP otherwise, Manitoba PNP is very tricky. Generally, for people who are living in other provinces, and I do get this question a lot. Say somebody is living in Ontario, BC, Alberta, they think of moving to Manitoba, and Manitoba's express entry, the point based system, not express entry, but the Manitoba PNP point based system, has a very odd situation attached to it, which says in some categories, it says if you have lived outside Manitoba, considering that you've studied outside Manitoba, you get minus 100 points. If you've worked outside Manitoba, you get another minus 100 points. So, because of those minus 200 points, most of the people are not able to get a good standing in Manitoba PNP. That is just for the main program, the Manitoba PNP program. But there are other programs to fall under. Even the entrepreneur program is also working fine with Manitoba. It's still okay, but you should only think of moving to Manitoba only if you are eligible. So look at the program very specifically. The draws are not many. The quota or the invitation size is also not a lot. So you might want to bite that with a pinch of salt, and do take a step only if you think it's going to be worth it. But for everybody who's already studied in Manitoba, or who's been living in Manitoba, working in Manitoba, has the dedicated employer support, for you guys, it's absolutely, it's a good news, right? So that part you can very well use it to your benefit. Another important news coming in from BC Entrepreneur Program, BC PNP Entrepreneur. The latest draw that happened with regards to BC PNP, that was quite a show by itself. Let me just bring it on the screen. The latest draw that happened was on April 15th again. 5 invitations only issued in the base stream score with a score of 115, right? They're looking for strong business plans. They're looking for community impact and strategic locations. I still remember 2023 or 2024, the kind of people who were invited had significant investments to be made under the BC Entrepreneur Program. That was one part, and also the number of jobs, and also the kind of location. These are the three key criteria that you have to look at if you're applying for BC Entrepreneur, BC PNP Entrepreneur Program. It is a good one though, but the size, the invitation size, as you already saw, only 5 people, only 5 people invited. That's quite less for businessmen who want to move to BC under this program, right? um, that is something that you'll have to understand before even thinking of applying for it, right? Another important news as of today is the processing time, guys. Processing times of work permits inside Canada has gone for a toss. Right now, we are seeing the work permit processing time reach up to 201 days while you're inside Canada. I know this is not what you expect. I know this is a lot, and this exactly affects people, students inside Canada, people who are applying for their bridging open work permits, especially people who are out of status, want to apply for a bridging open work permit, right? They're waiting for their work authorization to come through. This is significant delay that you're expecting. This could mainly be impacted by the fake work permit extensions that people are also using, right? So all of that causes a stress and strain on the system. So at one point, there are genuine people who have genuine work authorization, LMIA-based work permits, and all of those applications are trying to get into the system. For them, And then there are all the other expiring work permits, people who are supposed to go back home. There are expiring work permits starting mid of 2025 and there onwards. We are expecting close to a million work permits expiring in the next 1 to 2 years. What will happen to those? And a lot of those people are putting extra stress on the system just applying for work permits. Fake work permit extensions, fake pgwp extensions, bogus pgwp extensions, all of that is causing a stress on the system. Hence 201 days worth of processing time. This is close to 7 months of processing time. I know people are not happy with this, but if you look at the work permits being processed from US, that is an on an altogether different level. It's reaching 1.5 years just for applying for a work permit for Canada. So yes, Canada apparently is under a lot of stress from work permits. If you ever think you want to see what kind of processing times are there, you can always get onto this website. This is the processing time website that is there on the Canadian government website. Go here, select the kind of category that you want to apply under. Say, for example, we're looking at work permit from inside Canada. If you look at this, 201 days. This is updated as of day before yesterday, and it gets updated every now and then. So this is the processing time. But the surprise part here is if you were to look at from outside Canada, look at United States. Now look at the processing time, 81 weeks. Yes, you're reading that correctly. Work permits from US is sitting at 81 weeks. Is this because of the stressed US and Canada relations? Of course. But people from US are looking forward to moving to Canada. Hence, a lot of applications are going through. And then 81 weeks worth of waiting. This is approximately 1.5 years, even more than that, right? But yes, this is not so good to look at. On the other hand, latest updates coming in from RCIP, Rural Community Immigration Pilot Programs, and the Francophone Community Immigration Pilot Program, the replacements of the famous RNIPs. RCIP is finally in full swing. Right now, RCIP has already been announced. FCIP, the Francophone Community Immigration Pilot, that has already been announced. It's been quite a while, but right now the people are waiting for communities to announce their criterias. And so finally Timmins took the lead. We had posted a couple of tweets and other information bulletins on our Instagram and other handles. Timmins is now in full swing. If you quickly have a look at Timmins, let me just show you the website. Okay, so this is the Timmins RCIP section. If you look at this particular section, they are talking about the kind of NOC codes that will be in favor. Priority sectors in Timmins RCIP, they're looking at health, they're looking at education, they're looking at social, community and government services, trades and transport, natural resources, and business and finance administration. So Timmins is looking for people if you're working in this. And then there are priority occupations. Financial advisor, finally, we are seeing somebody or some community and PNP look at financial advisors with a lot of preference. But there is an asterisk, occupation unique to RCIP. Okay. Then there are accounting technicians, again, finance. We have administrative officers. This is never seen. Usually, we don't see admin officers and FSRs, like people working as tellers, frontline workers in terms of financial institutions. For you guys, I think this is absolutely surprising and delightful. We have marine engineers, material engineers, licensed practical nurses as expected, health, early childhood educator and assistants. Then we have industrial electricians. We have laborers in wood and pulp processing. This is a tier 5 job. Then you have underground production, development miners, construction helpers. This is also very nice. This is tier 5 job. So it is not all very complicated to get into Timmins, but what is complicated is you trying to look at your criterias or eligibilities to live in the community first. Then there'll be a job offer with the local employer, and then the employer has to get designated. After the designation will be the selection process, and then you will apply for PR. So Timmins or any other RCIP for that matter will have to go through these processes. But the good part is that Timmins is looking at broader spectrum of NOC codes, broader spectrum of industries, which is quite helpful. So people, if you are finding jobs in Timmins or any other RCIP, I'm expecting good news at least for the upcoming season. Apart from Timmins, in terms of RCIP, the other community that has opened doors is North Bay. If you look at North Bay, let me just bring it up on the screen. Um, North Bay has finally opened its doors. They are accepting interests um, by selecting one of these at the bottom. You can be a community partner service provider, like the settlement program and all of that. Then there is a candidate interest survey, and then there is an employer interest survey. This is brand new, North Bay. Um, if you fill this, there will be an interest, everything, what kind of job, who's your current employer, who are you willing to work with, and they will follow up on this. So North Bay is fresh off the chart after Timmins, and they are accepting this for the francophone as well. uh, while they are working on declaring what are the other pilot programs, the preferences, this has not yet officially launched. They're only collecting interest as of now. So, if you're looking for RCIP, I think North Bay and Timmins have just started. Um, Rather, North Bay is about to start, but yes, this is a good time to start preparing for all of this. Okay, this is pretty much what we have in terms of the immigration update specific to programs, but there are a lot of other updates related or closely associated with immigration when it comes to the world that is around. So let's just look at the international affairs related to Canadian immigration, which are very, very important for you to understand. Perfect. Second segment has a specific reaction of Canadians with regards to the Trump era. Canadians are canceling US business trips under the ongoing stress relationship at the borders, at the entries. The latest news from CTV is specifically focusing on Canadians canceling their business trips. They do not want to enter the country or travel to the country with the suspects that they might get held up. There was also an increased use of burner phones, people who were traveling to US, because uh, apparently US immigration officials can go through your phones if they find anything suspicious, if they find any tweets, your social media accounts, if they find it suspicious, they can detain you and they can put you back for questioning. We already saw what happened with that lady, the Canadian lady who was caught up between the Mexican and the US border. And she did not have a good time for 1 week, full 1 week. She was questioned quite a lot, and her agony has been expressed all over social media. So people apparently are canceling their business trips to US, which is not very nice. Apart from this, the nightmares for Canadian permanent residents is on an all-time high. News sources are saying that Canadian permanent residents are facing a lot of heat in terms of the services that they expect from IRCC, which starts with as simple as waiting for their first PR card. Their first PR card, people expect to get that within 30 days because people want to travel back home, and they are seeing quite a lot of delays in getting their first PR card, that is going beyond 90 days at times as well. um, Even while having that done, the stamping times overseas in the overseas offices, especially say for example for India, it is going beyond 4 weeks. So people who are going to their home countries, who are applying for PRTDs, if they don't have a PR card, are getting stranded overseas, and they are waiting for the PRTDs to come through. Because of that, the nightmare continues, because they have their higher cost of accommodation, travel tickets, canceling flights here and there, and then there's a lot of stress that is going on. Even VFS is having lack of clear communication, hence there is not a lot of support from VFS as well. And there is an alternative solution that they can come to Canada via US, come to Canada via the US border using their COPR. So I hope people, Canadian permanent residents, the newer Canadian permanent residents, know that if they don't have a PR card handy, they can fly to US and cross into Canada via land border. Obviously, you will have to establish a proof of identity and proof of permanent residence for Canada, which will include your ECOPR, your normal living standards, and everything in Canada, your proof of your identity, your passport, and everything. But yes, if you are stranded in your home country and if you have to enter Canada urgently, expecting that you already have a PRTD, a US visa, US B1, B2, or any other US visa in hand, you can come to US and then cross into Canada via a private vehicle or on foot. But you will not be allowed to enter Canada through a commercial carrier, for example, a bus, a tour bus, or a flight, without having a visa or a PR card. But if you just walk onto the border, present yourself, show your ECOPR and your proof of identity, let the officer establish your permanent resident status, and then hopefully everything will be fine there on. Um, in another news, Quebec's immigration debate just got heated. They are saying that economic needs versus cuts has to be balanced properly. The business groups, including Olimil, warn that cuts will hurt recruitment severely, particularly in the rural areas, as immigrants play a very, very important role in addressing the labor shortages. So, even the Quebec government is understanding, and the prospective political parties, for example, conservatives want reduced immigration on the other end, while liberals are preferring to keep it at a stagnant level, which it is permanently. Then they say that the recent cuts on foreign workers has been affecting the Quebec immigration in terms of future perspectives very severely. So they do not want any further cuts. That's a debate. I mean, at the end of the day, they're saying that the labor shortages in the province will be severe, and the province will not be able to take it. So they are advocating that it should be. So the debate is very divided. Um, one party is saying there is no need of further cuts. Liberals are saying we want to keep it stagnant. Conservatives are saying we don't want more foreign workers. So there is, I think the moment of election will be very, very important in terms of who gets to be in power in Quebec. Perfect. I think time for us to move over to the world news at the moment. World news is also very interesting. So, guys, with regards to the world immigration, our first star of the day is Singapore. I am pretty sure people already know about Singapore. It is one of the famous destinations when it comes to business, doing pure business. Running world economics, finances. Singapore happens to be a very small country, but yet very powerful at the same time. Um, I believe the citizenship rules of Singapore are very, very strict, and people have been longing forever to get their hands onto the into the country. But yes, for now, Singapore has started reforming their visa rules, opportunities for Indian professionals very specifically. Now, with respect to the visas for Singapore, they're saying effective July 1st, 2025, they're removing any employment caps with regards to no more caps or period for work permit holders. They're eliminating maximum employment period for people who are going to Singapore. Then again, these are Indian professionals. The sectors will be limited to construction, shipyards, and manufacturing very specifically, as expected. The age limit of applying for an employment visa has been raised from 60 years to 63 years. And this also allows older workers to extend their careers and also stay there for longer. And this directly is going to impact people who are already living in the country and will be able to extend their permits further. There'll be expanded job opportunities effective September 1st, 2025. New eligible roles will include cooks, heavy vehicle drivers, and manufacturing operators. And higher salary thresholds, which have already been implemented. These are minimum salaries which have been raised to Singapore dollars 5,600 per month, and financial services to $6,200 per month. These are higher standards that Singapore has implemented, which is very, very good. And apparently people will be able to greatly benefit from this. The mandatory immigration registration policies have been upheld in US. The US judge has finally allowed the Trump administration to go ahead with the plan to make immigrants illegally living and entering United States with the federal government, and they're facing fines and imprisonments. So the immigrants will have to register if they are trying to live and stay back in US for more than 30 days, which is one of the things that is driving away a lot of snowbirds, people who live in Canada during the summers, fly to US, especially Florida, during the winter season, and they try to have a good time. So yes, this is a major update with regards to US immigration. Apparently a lot of snowbirds are now coming back to Canada as well, because they don't like the increased immigration policies of US, the stricter policies, and also the Trump administration has been driving away people who are not complying with the government policies. So people are not really enjoying. We are already dealing with a lot of applicants under the Kuzma treaties, the treaty investor program. They're going absolutely fine for Canada. Although very importantly, liberals are going to target the Kuzma work permits in the time to come. The times to come are going to be very, very strict for treaty investors. For all US nationals and Mexican nationals, take advantage of Kuzma as soon as you can, because the liberals are back in power. They will try to do something to that. And obviously, that's in response to whatever Trump has done in terms of the tariffs and all. The administration is not working as per the treaty investors. Perfect. In the special report today, we are talking about liberals, guys. This is going to be very, very interesting. I love this segment. Um, So, guys, in this special report today, we are covering what people have been waiting for with regards to their liberal parties that are coming in. The Liberal Party that is expected to come into power very, very soon. But let me tell you, the lead that Mark Carney had achieved is on a decline. They've lost about 5%, I believe, which is not acting very, pretty much in favor of the Liberal Party. Also, the debate yesterday was very interesting. I mean, there were a lot of key takeaways. Mark Carney got cornered with the fact that the Liberal Party, even though has changed the overhead from Justin Trudeau to Mark Carney, still the heart is the cabinet. The cabinet ministers still remains the same. Now, Pierre Polyev had a smart question. He said that even though your ideology has changed, but it only remains to one person, what about the rest of the cabinet? They still are going to act in the same fashion. They're still going to work in the same fashion. Um, there was another important moment when Pierre Polyev said that during the recession, during COVID, Mark Carney had advised Justin Trudeau in order to print money and save Canada from the COVID related issues. Now, that particular financial advice of Mark Carney drove up the inflation that we are facing today. A couple of heated moments. Mark Carney did have a lot of comebacks, did not have comebacks at a lot of times, but it was it was a 2 hour conversation, and I'm planning to make a dedicated video on that topic as well. But so far, if you look at the liberal agenda, what to expect if the liberals are in power? First, let's look at what people are saying. Like, are people, guys, what do you think? Do you think liberals will be back, or what do you think the conservatives will be back? I really am looking forward to your comments in the comment section. Do let us know what do you think should happen, or at least what are you waiting for that to happen, right? In terms of the liberal agenda, the 45th Canadian Permanent, the Parliament, the election will be happening. The elections will be happening on April 28th, and Mark Carney has already been sworn in as the Prime Minister in March. And that was specifically March 14th. But just within 1 month of his being, or less than 1 month of him being in the power, or Trudeau's exit, he decided to have a flash election. And this particular election, I believe, is the smartest move Mark Carney could have, because there are, once US puts tariffs, or they've already put tariffs, once US goes into recession, the Canadian economy is likely to follow that recession, because they are not secured from that. And if that so happens, the elections which were supposed to happen in November, at that time Canada would not be in a good shape, and that would definitely not be a good chance for the Liberals to stay back in power. That's one of the reasons. Second, Mark Carney is somewhat scared, I believe, of some cans of worms that could open because of his companies and investments, and he's an employee. He's been in the financial world forever, so there are possibilities that he might have some conflicts here and there. So he wants to avoid all of that before any of that goes into strict, scrutiny, and he wants to have this election already in place. As per the news sources, Mark Carney at this moment has most amount of support which he could, which is quite right as well, in his career so far. And yeah, that's what he's trying to play on. I mean, let's hope the Canadian population makes the right choice for them. Overall, the broad oversight of Mark Carney's plan to, in terms of immigration agenda, is to bring Canada back on track. I'm not sure how they want to bring it back on track, because what Mark Carney says, they should have acted early. But here's what he has in mind in terms of his vision. He wants to supercharge the housing plan to address the affordability of Canadian houses. He wants to cap immigration to pre pandemic and sustainable levels. Now, pre pandemic, please remember, this is not 250,000 during conservatives. No. Pre pandemic, you are looking at approximately 350,000 people in a year. That is still 100,000 more than what conservatives believe that should be. They want to reform the government, and they want to reform the taxes to boost investments in the related to immigrants or immigration. They are looking at reduced immigration targets. They want to bring it down to 350 to 367,000 people per year by the year 2027, and they are expected to bring in temporary residents to approximately 874,124 people. They are expecting these people to leave Canada by 2027. Okay, so that's the number that they have in mind. In Canada Focus, they want to bring in approximately 83,000 people, 82,980 to be precise. But this is the number of PR admissions that they want to do in the year 2025. This is what they have in terms of their targets. This is what the Liberals are expecting. In terms of focus, while conservatives are focusing more on entry level, low skilled, maybe high skilled jobs in terms of plumbing, construction, they want to keep it for Canadians. Um, Liberals are also focusing on high skilled professionals, bringing them from overseas, including healthcare, construction, and tech. So, apparently, if Liberals remain in power, we could see STEM coming back. Express entry reforms, they're expecting to do that to better invite specialized skills. I don't know what further changes they're expecting, but I believe if the only other change that they could do would be to bring back the arranged employment points. Please give a thumbs up if you want that to happen. But in a specific, modified, and in a better manner, right? So I really want to hear your views on that. Also, I've seen them implementing regional postal codes, like picking a postal code for where you've studied, where you're living and working. They haven't put that to test yet. I'm still hoping that somebody starts working on regional specific draws. That could be an identifier as well. And they want to boost economic growth through targeted immigration. Please remember, this is not generic, but this is more of targeted immigration. In terms of asylum, they are very much worried about the rising asylum claims at the US and Quebec border. They are also critiquing US for sending asylum seekers to Canada because of the, they're not intentionally sending, while the issues that are happening in US. Mark Carney says that all of those policies are pushing asylum seekers towards Canada, and they plan to use the safe third country agreement and balance humanitarian goals at the same time. This is a bit different approach as to what the conservatives are planning for. Conservatives are planning for quicker reforms, trying to limit asylum claims to only genuine people. On the other hand, liberal wants to play around fairly and try to bring out a very streamlined wave of asylum seekers. Public sentiment says that immigration is secondary to inflation and housing concerns. This is what the public thinks, and they are supporting, veins due to the population growth. And Bank of Canada says growth will drive up the rent and the home prices. So everybody has different varied views in terms of immigration when it comes to that. The conservatives are already criticizing the policies that liberals had. Uh, that's what the conservatives are playing the game. They're saying that you are no different than Justin Trudeau. Just the skin of the game has changed, but the game that you're going to play is still going to be the same. You are going to maintain. The pressure is on the liberals to maintain a very very tight immigration control, and he says that he's going to bind trade with immigration targets in the future. That's what Mark Carney has to say. Overall, I believe the liberal government, as I expect, will be following three key things. I think they will continue to maintain the same pressure that they are putting on the Canadian immigration at the moment. A little bit more, but not too drastic. They will implement lower, or they should implement lower targets. Basically aligning the foreign worker program in a better way, trying to overhaul them, and then they are trying to address the public concerns on a wider level in terms of the frauds that are happening. They've already done that by removing the work permit points or the arranged employment points. This is a temporary change, and we are waiting for how the liberals will bring it back. That's the important part. Well, let's see. We will do a comparison video as well between the two, agendas, and we'll see what each party is, focusing on. Pretty much, I think the parties are focusing on similar issues only. All of them have stricter border controls. All of them have asylum, claims on their agenda. All of them have agenda of reducing permanent residence in the future. While liberals are less focused on reducing a lot, conservatives want to go back to pre 2015 levels. So they want to bring it back to 250. So there's almost 100,000 worth of difference in PR. In terms of foreign workers, liberals are not too focused on further decreasing the numbers, while conservatives are heavily focused on reducing it further. LMIAs are something that liberals haven't talked about specifically. Conservatives are talking about lower skilled, low wage, LMIA specifically. They apparently want to shut down the program or do a very strict reform on it. We will do a better research on this and come back to you with an improved, version of it. And as the time goes by, we'll look at the debates and keep you posted. Perfect, guys. I believe time to look at a few questions. I am a bit rushed today on something, urgent that has come through, but let's just look at what kind of questions we have. Um, Looking at the questions, perfect. This is a good question. Vishwet, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Vishwet. In your best opinion, do you think that CC draws will stop or may happen very infrequently, which will bring down the score? Then LMI removal was done for what purpose? Vishwat, two parts to your question. Why was the LMIA points removed? I would rather address it as the arranged employment. The arranged employment points were removed not to bring down the scores. The government did that to curb immigration fraud. The claims were that, or the apparent happenings around immigration industry was that people were selling these LMIAs or job offers in the context of gaining additional points, maybe 50 or 200 points, in order to boost their PR scores. Hence, IRCC removed that, addressing concerns that people were misusing it, employers were misusing it, and they removed it so that they could curb the fraud, and which is quite nice, which is very good, and I believe it's a very smart move. They could have they could have modified it a bit to suit the system better. I believe that could always come because this is a temporary removal, but yes, this is why it was done. As far as your question goes on whether CC draws will continue and whether it'll be infrequent, my only submission here is that, my friend, the quotas left for CC for the year 2025 are not that great. If they continue to hold high level draws, like bigger draws, then the quota will get exhausted fairly quickly. They cannot keep, they're not doing it fairly quickly, they're doing it infrequently so that the numbers go high. I still, deep down, I believe that IRCC is doing it intentionally so that the corpus builds up and then they still don't have to take out a lower cutoff. There is no exact apple to apple comparison as to why they're doing it, or we don't have a direct answer, but this is what I'm assuming is the main reason. But I hope I've answered your question to the best of my abilities. Um, Okay, good question, Meet. Will Alberta bring the similar work permit policies, just like the one that Manitoba has issued recently? I believe Alberta did have that policy. Let me just quickly put that for you. Um, Okay, so right now, the provinces that have that policy already existing are Alberta, Manitoba, and Yukon. While Alberta was one of the first ones to implement that along with Manitoba. Manitoba was actually the first one. Alberta was following, and then Yukon also did. So, yes, I deep down believe that Alberta should follow the pattern of Manitoba in the same time, but that policy might just get affected by the reduced quotas of 2025. We're still waiting to hear back from the provinces specifically. Good, Manitoba has taken up the lead, and hopefully waiting to, and Yukon has also renewed it. We're just waiting to hear back from Alberta. Rohit, are there any PR processing delays currently? My application has crossed 7 months. I'm not hearing a lot of delays. There are definitely delays in temporary application processing. I'm not too much aware of a lot of things happening with regards to PR processing, but we're still waiting on it. If you have anything specific, Rohit, apply for a web form. Reach out to your local MP if that is possible. Otherwise, you can do a writ of mandamus if it goes beyond the standard processing times. But that is not an easy solution. It's very expensive as well. So do take a call on that. Uh, okay. You won. What are the best immigration programs for teachers and IT sectors? Okay. First of all, teachers and IT sectors will be two separate buckets of occupation. Looking at teachers, I believe right now Express Entry is fantastic, but we are waiting for the first ever draw to come in. Although I'm suspecting that the quotas for education might not be that big, so that might just take away the fun out of it. If you are into education, say primary teachers, early childhood educators, and all, then you have RCIPs, then you have Nova Scotia as well. You have the occupations in demand, even Ontario PNP as well. So that's a good one. Whereas IT sector goes, Ontario PNP has already declared that has already meant not declared officially, but inside sources say that Ontario is not looking at IT sector so closely in the year 2025. So I believe IT sector might just feel the heat this year. 2025 might just get a bit better, but IT sector might have to pause. Might have to wait a bit. Education this year is good. This year education will be a little better. Akshay, what are the odds of transport category coming back? Good question. I don't think this year transport will come back. Next year, I'm assuming once this dust of elections and everything settles, I'm very hopeful that transport might just get a couple of. We don't have any crude information. Honestly, odds are very very low, right? Until we actually hear from the government, there's nobody who can comment on it, right? But we can always be positive about the fact that we want it to come back. Yeah, that's a separate thing. Okay, Mian, what about the new PGWP? Can the first time student work while waiting? Of course, if you're applying Milan, there are a couple of eligibility criteria that you have to focus on before you actually think you can work, and follow them very closely. The information that I'm about to give you is very oversight, like it's very overview types, but you have to go down to the actual application category to see whether you're eligible. Now, if you have completed your study education, if you are applying for your PGWP, considering your study permit is already valid, You apply for your PGWP within 90 days of completion of your study program. Also, that you were allowed to work off campus on your study permit. If you apply for your PGWP on, you can wait in Canada and work on your implied status while waiting for your PGWP. Considering your study permit was not expired, you were allowed to work off campus and all the other criteria. So follow that closely, and people can work on PGWP implied status while they're waiting for their PGWPs. I hope that helps. Okay, we'll take the last question and then we will wrap it up for the day. Uh, hmm. Shivam, my CRS is 467 in health category. When can we expect the next healthcare draw? And what's your speculation for CRS of healthcare category? Shivam, I believe 467 could be a good score in terms of at least a PNP. So that is one expectation that I have for sure. If not, healthcare category, I believe somewhere around 470s, 465 could also be safe, but 470s and 475 could be expecting. But we don't have a basis of this prediction. Like we don't have any NOC based numbers available. So it's hard to predict that number. But just going by the previous draws that happened, let's just look at what happened previously. I think that'll let us uh, uh, express entry. Let me just quickly look at this. So if you look at this particular section here, if you look at the previous rounds, uh, healthcare draws previously before the LMI points removal, 463 was the last draw, 445, 422, and this is 2024. So with this particular projection, I believe 467 is still pretty good. Um, Especially now the job offer points have been removed. I don't expect a lot of effect on job offer points on this. But yes, I think 467, as I can see based on the previous scores, it should be a good number. I think it's a good number to be waiting on. Perfect. Well, guys, it was nice talking to you today. We did have a lovely time. I will be involved in a couple of things right now, so I won't be able to dedicate any further time today. But it was lovely chatting with you. Guys, we practice here in Ontario. Our office is here. If you're looking for any personalized help, please feel free to schedule an appointment with us. We would be more than happy to speak with you. Our contact details are on the screen at the moment. Just book an appointment and we'll be happy to have a chat with you. Once again, I wish you all the best and I really hope to see you soon in Canada. All the best.